All right. Wednesday. No, it's not. It's Monday. I don't know what day it is. I never do when I get on the live. I wake up every day and just hustle and grind, and all of everything runs together. And we're going to get into it tonight. We will hop on and run it down for you guys in the chat. Let me know if you guys can see what's going on over here on YouTube. There we go. Gary says we're live. What's up? Okay. So there we go. YouTube's working on here. Awesome. Shout out to Gary, by the way. He made me, I don't know if it's the same Gary, but he made me this deal. These are magnets that go in here, and it's pretty cool. Anyway, awesome little gift that he gave to me. So putting that back here. It's in right there for you, Gary. Appreciate the gift on that. It's a little Ripple symbol. Man, we got so many things going on in crypto. Went over a bunch of stuff on the town hall today. There in the mastermind, we ran it down. Went into, what I'm sure the burning questions that everybody has when it comes to Swift and their proprietary blockchain that they're building out. Is it competing with XRP? Is XRP going to still get settlement? What's that going to look like? We're going to run down all that tonight here in the live, along with the other fun stuff when it comes to the ETFs. They're going to standardize the way that people are able to apply for the ETF listings. You've got the SEC coming out and standardizing that process. So they're going to remove all of the, it's like 19-4Bs. I think that's probably wrong, but there's a specific form that they have to file for the spot ETFs. It's only for the spot ETFs for the way that they are going to standardize this for people. So it's going to allow people to list real time as long as they meet those standards, which is going to be really interesting. Enter BlackRock, enter Vanguard, enter all of the people that we've been waiting about other cryptos. We talked about a lot of cryptos in the mastermind earlier today because we had a question that was actually like worded well. And they said, post price appreciation for XRP, what are the cryptos you're going to be looking at investing in? And I gave a full rundown of that there in the mastermind. So if you want to go listen to that and figure out, which cryptos I think are going to be the most lucrative in the near future on the other side of utility and decoupling from Bitcoin, you can absolutely listen to that from today's live. Well, not the live, but the town hall there in the mastermind. If you go to beyondbroke.com and use the code beyondbroke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO like Mary Oscar, get you the first month for $2 there in the mastermind. Very low price to entry for all the value that we're trying to provide there for you. And you can know exactly which cryptos I think are going to explode in this cycle. So there's that. And then the other piece, the standardization of the ETFs. So, I've been talking about the domino theory for a long time and the way that they're going to rotate liquidity from the Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs into the altcoins. I do believe that is the way this is going to shake out. And the ETFs are going to provide the avenue for that rotation to happen in the traditional markets, and a bunch of other liquidity to be able to be dumped in on this asset class. So the things that have the ETFs, Doge was the one that I'm forgetting from earlier. So you got Litecoin, Doge, XRP, Solana, HBAR, and there's one more that I'm not thinking of. But those will be the main things that I think will receive the majority of the liquidity from the rotation. And that's going to be super exciting. So I think that the ETFs could launch first before the reverse carry trade unwinds. And if that ends up how it's going to play out, then you're going to see a big jump in XRP, but it's not going to be, 4 digits or anything just absurd. You're still going to see double digits. I think somewhere between 25 and $50, maybe even up to $100 is very reasonable on the launch of the ETFs and potentially, in the days after that. But I am very confident that we will see, 4 digits on the other side of the reverse carry trade unwinding. So we're waiting on oil. We're waiting on the spike there. That could continue to be pushed out. We do have the ETFs going live mid-October. And again, those might need to be in place, kind of like stablecoin regulation, before we see the reverse carry trade unwind, so that they can easily rotate that liquidity into the XRP ETFs and into XRP, and causing an even greater supply shock post, ETF approval and launch. I just don't know. Again, kind of like, all these things need to happen for that to happen. Is there a time delay between some of those dominoes falling? Are they spaced a little bit further apart? That's possible. So I'm not putting that out of the question. I would love to see it jump straight to 4 digits, but I do think there's a pit stop somewhere in there between 50 and $100 in my mind. So excited about that. And again, the standardization of these ETF approvals will allow for, again, all of them to roll at one time, and a ton of demand and liquidity to be pushed into XRP when that happens. We got some other people back over here on the old YouTube. Maybe I have 2 lives going at the same time somehow. I don't know. Really interesting setup tonight. We'll see what ends up shaking out. Is there a live? Yeah, you're on the live, my man. If you're over here on TikTok. So we'll go ahead and jump into the super chats. I got 2 super chats that a few people that I missed on Monday. So I'm going to get into those, and then we'll get into the super chats for tonight. Evernode. Somebody had asked me about that. So Evernode is another side chain on the XRPL. It's actually, this is a HOW, or hooks side chain. It's another smart contract platform. They're a little bit lighter weight. They're like Sorband smart contracts on Hyperledger. So they're not going to be as robust as the EVM sidechain. Like if you had multiple if-then statements or transactions that had to happen in cadence based on other transactions, you're not going to be able to get that capability with hooks or Zahao. And Evernode is built out on top of that network. So Evernode is kind of a repository of smart contracts that other people can access, and you basically get paid for your contributions there. So if you create some code that other people use inside of their protocol or some other smart contract that they build out, then you get compensated for that over the long term, which I think is a great way to incentivize people to build out code and get paid on that over the long term for their contributions to the network. I know many people that work on, Evernode, and have built stuff on that side chain. When that first came out, I was at XRP Vegas. Well, it was before it was even launched. I think there's a possibility that hooks and that side chain could make its way to the mainnet. So that's been something that's been discussed for a long time, where you would bring native smart contract or light smart contract capability to the mainnet on the XRPL. You don't want to cause more frictions or latency or fees, very similar to Ethereum. Like if you get really robust smart contract functionality built into the mainnet, you're going to rehypothecate what happened to ETH. So, again, you want it to be like XLM, where Sorband smart contracts are kind of like lightweight smart contracts and would allow for, basic smart contract functionality built into the mainnet. And I think that's what Hooks' goal is. And I do think that it, again, could move to the mainnet over the long term. It would take an amendment. It would be a big overhaul. That's why they launched it on a side chain first, in order to be able to test it and make sure that it was going to work before they migrated it to the mainnet. This person said, I like you. You seem like a good man. XRP can't break $100, and that's a stretch. I know for a fact that it can, my man. It's made to operate at $10,000 a piece. I know there's a lot of people that have a hard time comprehending that because they look at the market cap and the total, outstanding tokens. Available supply and total supply are 2 very different things. And I've been over that in multiple videos. If you want to go back and check that on my channel, I think that you would find that there's a reason. The amount in circulation isn't that much, my man. Like, again, available supply and total supply are 2 very different things. There might be 2 to 3 billion available for trade to be able to facilitate transactions at this point, even though the total supply is 100 billion. Ripple has more, you know, a little less than half of that in escrow. Like, I spend all my time on this. So, um, he always calls me so late. And then the other super chat that I missed out on was hair transplant. So you guys can see my hair's wild today. I need a haircut. I actually got one scheduled for tomorrow. But if you look at my early videos before I went to Turkey, I did get a hair transplant. Actually, a little bit more than a year ago. We got it in June or July of 2024. And I got 2,500 grafts. They took them from all over the side and the back of my head, and they put them all through here. You can still see that I'm like a little bit bald right in there. But where they did the grafts and everything is fantastic. I mean, it's good full hair. It's a little bit different texture than the rest of my head, but I'm really happy with the result. I would definitely go back to Turkey. This guy says, what's the cost? So like $4,000. They're in Turkey and they do everything that pays for your hotel. It pays for all your food. It pays for the shuttle back and forth to the clinic. They did great. So Estee Clinic is the clinic that I use there in Turkey, in Istanbul. Highly recommend them. Umut is my guy over there. You can reach out to us via email if you want their information. They do communicate through WhatsApp and Telegram because they are international. This guy says you got to take finasteride for forever now. No, I actually haven't taken any finasteride. I used to take finasteride before I got the hair transplant because I didn't want the conversion to DHT to continue to make it worse. I tried a bunch of different things, you know, like needling. I tried, you know, different hair oils. You know, they got the palm oil with like coconut oil and castor oil that you'd put on your head. I tried a bunch of different stuff and none of it really worked. This has been super effective. And I again, really excited with the results. So like $4,000, Estee Clinic over there in Istanbul, Turkey. Umut is our guy. And the Turks know what's up. They've got a lot of cosmetic surgery over there. If you got the same procedure done here in the US, you're going to run you somewhere between 10 and 15 grand most of the time. So pretty significant savings over there. They'll also do like teeth. I haven't ever had my teeth done. These are my real teeth, big old chiclets. But anyway, a lot of really good cosmetic surgery over there in Turkey. You know, this is a real thing, whether you like it or not. And I learned this at a young age. I haven't weighed less than 160 pounds since I was about 10 years old. I was a fat kid. I got made fun of a lot when I was young. Was super nerdy, had glasses, didn't fit in, moved. Wouldn't change it for anything. It definitely impacted who I am as a person, and I'm glad that it all happened. It sucked at the time, but for me, it made me realize that your first impression makes a big difference, whether you want it to or not. If you are in shape, you look like you take care of yourself, you're good looking, all that stuff matters in society. I know that's not fair. But if you do, you know, take care of yourself, it makes a big difference. If you can take care of yourself, you can take care of other people. That's kind of like the paradigm that most people operate under. And, you know, if you're in shape and you walk in, you command a certain level of respect that other people that are out of shape don't. You know, there's been points where I've got, you know, probably body dysmorphia from a lot of the stuff that I look at on a regular basis and compare myself to. I think people are like that though. Maybe I'm the only one. But anyway, you know, little stuff like that. If you can, you know, pay a little bit of money and fix your teeth, or pay a little bit of money and fix your nose, your hair. Also, I'll say like confidence for yourself. You know, if there's something that bugs you about your own physical being that you can fix cosmetically, it's worth doing just for your own self-confidence. Not that, you know, I cared a ton. I mean, I did care a ton about the hair deal. I'm a Leo also, so like it's the main thing. I don't know. But, you know, people would make comments and it's enough to like get under your skin, and you try to not let people know that it's bugging you. But anyway, just to say, on the other side of price appreciation for for all this stuff, if you have things that you would want to change about yourself, know that you're perfect just how you are. But if you do want to, improve something, I don't think it's wrong to get some cosmetic surgery done. You guys may know who Layla Hormozi is, Alex Hormozi's wife. This person just keeps commenting this. How do I contact your family office? I'd really like to speak with someone before joining. You can just email us, my man. It's info@digitalfamilyoffice.io. Anyway, she got a nose job. She never liked her nose, and since then she's made a ton more content and been much more outgoing. And like, I can tell that her self-confidence is significantly higher since she got the nose job. So there's always stuff that people don't like about themselves for whatever reason, but I would encourage you to live your best life and don't necessarily care about what everybody else thinks, but also it does matter what you look like. You're tall, blue-eyed white male. Stop with the BS. No offense. I'm a Leo 5'6". Look, man, I play to my strengths. I'm 5'11". I like to say I'm 6 foot. I'm 5'11". This person says, "What's your minimum?" For the family office side, it's $20 million. But for our other services, that's much lower threshold for that. On the digital assets, on the wealth management side, it's only 500,000 in crypto. And then at least or 100,000 XRP. So 500,000 in crypto or 100,000 XRP is our minimum on the wealth management side. And then if you want to set up an LLC or start structuring things there, like 50 to 80 grand is where we start to see people need that, the LLC, to be able to protect their digital assets. Just like anything else, if you start to accrue value in something and you think it's going to continue to grow in value and you want creditor protection and to be able to mitigate taxes on stuff, that's when it makes sense. So now, we've been through these two super chats. We'll get into the ones for tonight. And again, appreciate you guys, rocking through the technical difficulties with me. We got Neil, my man. He says, with the SEC asking institutions to pull their ETF filings and only needing an S1 for approval, do you think this is a move that BlackRock doesn't have to file for the ETF? I think you said that in the past. They may have to file an S1. So yeah, this is their way to run through the starting gate and meet those criteria without ever letting anybody else know that it's coming. So super excited about that. We got Lawson Massey. He says, if you've got exactly 10,000 XRP sitting on a Ledger Nano and I'm living at, do you think that's enough for me to retire my family at 65? I don't know what age you are today, brother. If you're already 65, probably not. I mean, that's only $30,000 today, but I do think in this year, that could be worth substantially more, especially if everything that I think is going to play out. We already talked about the Swift news today. You missed it. If you want to go back and rewatch the live, you were able to do that. I'm sure we'll have other people ask the question, so I'll just rehash it. But yeah, I don't think a Nano's the best place to hold your crypto. I think there's some other cold wallets that I would recommend over that. But if you're 65, if you're 5 years away from being 65 or 10 years away from being 65, yeah, I think 10,000 XRP is absolutely enough to retire on. We got Roberto. He says, "Hey Jake, we see that a Mastermind member has been scammed. So teeing up the list for you: fake Jake's Mastermind discount, asset recovery, private equity, not financial advice." So appreciate that. Yeah, we're continuing to make sure that people are aware of scams. And I'll just give you guys my disclaimer. I am never going to message you. It's not me. On any social media platform whatsoever, if I message you, it is a scam. we do not message other people. Now, if we've engaged with you, you know, in a comment and gone back and forth, and you say, hey, I can't DM you, will you DM me? Occasionally, I will DM somebody, but it's because of a separate conversation. We, you know, want to make sure that people are aware that there are a ton of fake accounts out there. As an example, you know, my wife, she runs a lot of the social media. She deleted like 560 something Jakes, fake Jakes and accounts across all our social media platforms on Friday last week. It is getting ridiculous. It's got to be a bot at this point. We do have teams on this and have involved 3-letter agencies at this point because it's becoming so ridiculous. So I hope whoever they are is ready to go to jail because I'm really tired of it. And it's going to be a problem for you in the near future if you're watching this. So anyway, please be aware. If I message you, it's not me. I would never message you. So don't engage. Please block and report those accounts. And whether that's in the, you know, if you join the mastermind, we can't control Discord. There are other people on Discord that pretend to be me and Mikkel and a whole bunch of other people. Again, none of us have the time. I would love to say that we did, but none of us have the time to message you and try to get you to send your XRP somewhere. It'll never be me that asks you to send your XRP anywhere. I don't work at Digital Wealth Partners. I own that firm. And yeah, it's not even me that ever deals with clients moving their assets. So there's never any time that I'm ever going to ask you to download Web3 Wallet or ask you for the Flare airdrop or talk about QFS or any of these other scams that are out there. It's not me. I'm not asking for your XRP. Not going to do it. We do have, however, we've rolled out in the mastermind. If you are carbon 1 or higher, we are paying for a recovery service and you will be added to the list. So if somehow you do get phished, you do get scammed, you do get hacked, and your assets are taken, we will have the team that you can email, and immediately they will be on it. They will freeze your assets on whatever exchange it went to, and you will be able to likely recover those assets. As long as you're very quick about, you know, responding to it and emailing them and letting them know what's going on. They've recovered about $7 million for our clients so far in crypto and continue to do so. So, you know, really excited to bring that to the mastermind for carbon 1 and higher. Social members, unfortunately, it does cost us a significant amount of money to pay for that service. And so we've done that for carbon 1 or higher. And again, you can get in, you know, for the first month for $2 at carbon 1 if you want to. You just use the code BeyondBroke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO gets you the first month for $2 for social or carbon 1. A couple more super chats here. We got Lawson. He says, end of year price prediction, bearish and bullish. 2 digits to 4 digits, my man. We've got Mr. Affiliated. I like the name. He says, legend. With the Clarity Act, will the Clarity Act let banks restrict infrastructure ownership to at least to attested wallets via DPI onboarding, sidelining unattested XRP holders from utility, replacing repricing on their coordinated XRPL? There's only one XRPL. There's only one mainnet. XRP's price is that price on the mainnet. Now, for your ability to participate on the mainnet and in DeFi and other stuff, you probably will have to have a permissioned domain, and you will have to be a trusted party in order to be able to participate. You'll have to have the credentials to be able to participate as an accredited investor or a qualified purchaser or one of those things. Again, the liquidity pools and many other things I think are going to be securities here in the US. And you will have to go through the right channels in order to participate with your XRP in those. And again, this is a huge reason that I'm such a large proponent of setting up an LLC to be able to manage your assets. If you are going to have to list yourself on the XRPL through permission domains and verify who you want to maintain your anonymity if you can. And having a Wyoming LLC, setting it up with us or another attorney that's going to be the one filing on your behalf, will do that for you. So again, over the long term, I mean, these are large public networks where big players are transacting. It's going to be institutionally adopted at scale globally. They're not just going to let some retail people participate on these channels or on these protocols. Most people are going to sell, so it's not going to matter anyway. But if you intend to hold your XRP over the long term, I personally think it's imperative that you structure it the right way and set yourself up for success by using an LLC or a trust or some other veil to get the assets out of your personal name, protect it from creditors, and be able to participate anonymously with the assets to be able to generate returns and do other stuff with them. So again, don't say that to scare anybody or fearmonger. I want to empower people. I want people to be able to generate returns and do everything they want to with these assets. But over the long term, you know, I do believe that you're likely going to want those things in place. This person asked, what do I think about Caleb and Brown? I think they're the cleanest shirt in the dirty laundry, if that makes sense. They do have Fireblocks as their infrastructure. They do have segregated accounts. They do have a small amount of insurance on your assets over there, but they're not bankruptcy remote. They don't provide, you know, a ton of things like that I would qualify as institutional custody. They fall short on, but they are free. You can participate over there with no AUM fees. We charge AUM fees. However, the cost to transact on their platform is 3% or higher. So when you're making a trade over there, hopefully you're ready to pony up some cash because that's how they make their money. So, you know, it's kind of a give and take. Different people have different ways to monetize stuff. We would rather just have, you know, a base rate and then be able to generate yield and returns on your assets to make sure that you can more than cover those. And then if we're able to do a really good job, then we participate on the further upside on that. We had the webinar today for the accredited investors and went over looping and liquid staking and, you know, these wrapped XRP yield programs that are out there. I think that they're great. However, they do come along with some risks. And so because of that, it's not anything that I'll be participating in the short term. However, you know, I did state on there, if you're accredited and you do have excess liquidity, I would kind of look at it like liquid venture. You know, don't put anything more than you're willing to lose over there, but it could be lucrative and you might have a lot of upside if you're willing to take the risk. So we'll continue to do, you know, these capital preservation strategies and put things in place to be able to mitigate downside risk for people and generate modest returns, somewhere between 6 and 20% a year is what we're targeting at Digital Wealth Partners for our clients, which I think is pretty good. But, you know, some people think that that's not enough in crypto. They're willing to roll it for more. We've got Let's Go Mud, and they say, thank you. Appreciate you for the super chat. Lawson says, do you still think October is the month? I think October's looking really good with these ETFs. William, thank you so much for the super chat. I don't see your question, but if I find it below, I will answer it. We got Rockin' HL. They say, good evening, sir. You have talked about the SEC's rule for ETFs needing 6 months of futures, which puts the green light approval in November. What's your take on this, Mastermind member for life? Thank you for you and your team. So April is when Coinbase futures went live on the XRPL, or not on the XRPL, but for XRP. So that's, you know, 6 months ago as of next month. That's what they're counting, you know, and again, this is what a little birdie told me. This is not, you know, public information. Most people would look at the CME going live in May and consider that the green light date for futures. But Coinbase was actually live before that. And we've got all these approval dates for the XRP ETFs here in October. But now that they're going to remove their filings and standardize that process, I think that, again, mid-October is looking really good. This person says still 750. Again, what did I just say? I said somewhere between 2 and 4 digits at the end of the year for bullish and bearish scenarios. But again, my 750 bet is predicated on specific events playing out that I do think are very likely. Otherwise, I wouldn't make that bet. We got J King 14. He says, Jake, could you explain the benefits of a trust if one has an LLC already established? Who's the service provider and cost associated? It's a good question. So an LLC just provides creditor protection. It doesn't provide probate protection. And it only provides creditor protection if you maintain the corporate veil. If you commingle assets, if you do things that you're not supposed to, if you don't maintain the documents associated with the corporation, people can pierce the corporate veil and come after your assets. So, we have a corporate veil service. We make sure that that's maintained for you if you work with us to make sure that you do have that creditor protection and that benefit. There's charging order protection there in Wyoming, very similar to Nevada. And that's one of the other reasons that we established the LLCs in Wyoming versus other jurisdictions. So a trust is going to be probate protection. What that means is when you pass away, your assets pass to your heirs without any having to go through probate. So the state doesn't become aware and have a record of all of your assets, which is what happens during probate. So again, if you want to keep your assets away from creditors and not let everybody know your business, keeping it out of probate is paramount. And there's also some trusts that combine creditor protection and probate. And you can, move from grantor to non-grantor or vice versa, depending on if you gift the assets out of your taxable estate. So trust provides 3 different things: probate protection, creditor protection, and then also, tax protection or being able to move it out of your taxable estate, depending on the type of trust and depending on if you want to go ahead and complete that gift. The creditor protection often takes a couple years to season in for a trust. You cannot be in the middle of litigation or divorce or have creditors pursuing you or owe taxes. If you do want to set up an asset protection trust, you're going to have all those things out of the way and not need it. Problem is, most people want to set this stuff up when they need it. They're trying to remove assets or hide assets. Can't do it then. You got to do it before then. It's kind of like insurance or life insurance or health insurance. You want to have that stuff in place before you get sick or before you're in a position where you're going to need it. It's hard to think about that stuff when it's not paramount on the front of your mind. But if you can be proactive and set these things up, you're going to be in a much better position over the long term. So hopefully that provides you a little bit better clarity on what a trust is and the protections it provides and why you may want one. We got Jeffrey. What's up, man? He says, hey, Jake, try this. Wake up your wife at 2 a.m. and say, wakey, wakey, Zerfs and Jakey, and go back to sleep. Report back on how that goes. It would be fine because she's normally not asleep at 2 a.m., Jeffrey. So that's about the time she normally gets to sleep. She is a night owl, and we tend to operate on different circadian rhythms. I am an early bird. I like to get up at like 4 or 5 a.m. and start my day when there's peace and quiet and like sit around and contemplate my life and what I'm doing and my goals. Other people want to stay up late and do that. So it's, whatever what quiet time that you can get. This person asks, sorry, I know this is a question you get a lot, but what is the best cold wallet? Decent is my recommendation for a cold wallet. They're out of South Korea. They have a biometric. They have a great UI. You can add a 25th password to make it more secure. And they have a very large breadth of assets that they can custody there on that wallet. So I think we do have a link. You can go to jakeclaver.com and there's a link for that. I am an affiliate, just full transparency. We get like $5 if you go buy a decent wallet. Awesome. I just want people to have access to the best stuff. And that's really the only people that we are an affiliate for. I haven't really been an affiliate for anybody else. We're very particular. The crypto couple. Cool, man. You guys are a couple and you're into crypto. It's unusual. That's awesome, though. The 1589 on the super chat. Appreciate you guys. They say Beyond Broke Mastermind is well worth the price. I can't recommend it enough to everyone. Can't wait to work with you, Mr. Legend, after price appreciation. Thank you for that. Thank you for the super chat and the kind words. You know, we do our best to provide a lot of value there in the mastermind. If that sounds cool to you and you guys want to be part of a community of almost 8,000 people, which is just mind-blowing to me. And there are people all over the world, whether it's Canada, UK, Australia, Japan, South America, South Africa. We got people from the Middle East and Dubai and the UAE. We've got people across the broader EU. Again, I mentioned Canada and all across the US. You know, we have a ton of people that have aligned interest in digital assets. They're just good-hearted people. The culture there, I don't, you know, I thought as it grew, it was going to be difficult to maintain the culture, but everybody is so helpful and just wants everybody to do well. I couldn't be more proud of the people there in the group, and watching how they interact with one another and the kindness that they have. And I'm just really excited for post-price appreciation. We do more in real life events for the mastermind than any other group. We've got another one here in October coming up in San Francisco. If you're part of the group, you'll know where that is. The venue that we have there can support like 350 people. I don't know that we'll have that many. But, you know, the last event here in Dallas had pretty close to that. It was like 325 people that showed up. So really cool to see all of the awesome people participating in that and taking time out of their week or month to come in and hang out and get to know other people, you know, there in the group. We've got Rock Corp. What's up, man? Good to see you. Got to meet him at the last event. Cool. Here in Dallas. He says, in preparation for January 2026, can you remind us of the end of the year requirements to maintain your LLCs? I need to get back on it. So you're just going to file with the state, and then you have to file with your registered agent, make sure both of those things are up. And again, the corporate bail stuff. So you need to be maintaining your meeting minutes. You need to be issuing board resolutions. You need to have, you know, the meetings with your board on at least a quarterly basis and maintain the notes associated with that. That's your meeting minutes. And then, you know, you need to issue the equity, make sure that you've issued the equity and, you know, mandated shareholders. And you're following just all the stuff in your operating agreement. Make sure you're operating like you're supposed to. If you're taking monthly or quarterly dividends, you know, you're maintaining separation of accounts. You're doing all the stuff the right way so that you can maintain your corporate veil and stay in compliance for the LLC and the corporation that you have to get all the benefits. Let's see here. We got DFW Mike. Hey, good to see you, man. He said, good evening, Mr. Claver. I so need price appreciation. I'm getting opportunities tossed my way, but they require extra money to use and the turn into a true business opportunity. Yeah, well, that's the fun part. You know, post-price appreciation, a lot of people will have excess liquidity to be able to participate in other opportunities. Until then, it's hard to pass up the ROI that we have in crypto versus, you know, some of the other stuff that you get. I always just do a cost to benefit, you know, analysis on stuff. And I'm like, okay. And this has been hard for the business, right? Because I'm like, all right, I got to spend all this money, I got to hire all these people that I could be putting in XRP. But I know that, you know, over the long term, it's going to be much better for the community. I would rather do what's good for the whole rather than myself. And I know it'll pay off over the long term. It's been rough the last 3 years, you know, trying to get everything set up and, you know, cover all the costs associated with everything. But I do think that it is going to be well worth it. We're continuing to scale and add personnel at a huge clip. By the end of October, we'll be close to like 45 or 50 employees, and you know, scaling as fast as we can in order to be able to make sure that we are in a spot to, you know, anticipate and meet demand as people have it, as they want to come on and work with us. Scrolling on down here, looking for that next super chat. I guess there was a ton of time in here where I was frozen, and people, we got Drips to Drops says, lately I've been feeling like everything just is clicking. There's no doubt in my mind that success is inevitable. Did you ever experience a shift like this, or did you always feel that way? Depends on what it is. XRP, I've always felt that way. But that's also, I've had like a lot of conversations that let me know that it's fine. It's going to happen. It's just when, if it's not if, you know, with the business and everything else that we had going on, there was a lot of time where I was like, I don't know if this is going to work. Lots of doubts. But I think that that's a normal thing as an entrepreneur, even if you are having some success, if you're scaling and you're having to dump money back into the business in order to keep growing, there's just a level of friction, and sometimes you bite off more than you can chew, or you overdo something or underdo something, and stuff doesn't work, right? But you learn from those things, and that's how you get better. And every time you fail, you just stand back up and keep going. So if it's for XRP, yeah, I don't think I've ever had any doubts on XRP. There's never been a point in the last 4 years where I'm like, I don't know if this is going to work or not. I know that part's going to work. I know that part's going to make people a lot of money, myself included. But as far as the business goes, yeah, there's definitely been a large portion of time where, you know, it didn't make sense, or was, not to say that it didn't make sense, but there was frustrations. And here recently, you know, it's been similar to your experience. Just everything's kind of rolled, and it's finally working and continue to gain steam. So I think it'll be that same way for a lot of these digital assets. Once they get rolling, there's not going to be any stopping that momentum. We got Honest Aim. Good to see you. He says, legend. Good to see you and your wife, man. Enjoyed seeing you all at the event. He said, thank you for all that you do for the little guys. Simple question tonight. What's the AUM total now, including ours? Smile. Fastest growing organization and best ever for sure. Hi to the T Lady. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. We're currently at a little over $250 million XRP under management. So, you know, like 260 something million XRP Digital Wealth Partners puts us, you know, pretty close or north of $750 million. We have the largest fund in the world for crypto. Well, not for crypto, but for XRP in particular. And over the long term, I do think that we will be the largest liquidity pool on the XRPL for well, I say that. There'll be people that are bigger than us that are institutions that step in. But in the short term, once they do roll out 64, 65, and 66, I think that we will be, you know, able to tokenize our fund and probably be the front runner on that for people. So yeah, just mine, you know, I'm blown away by people's participation and want for generating returns on their XRP. Again, the webinar that we put together earlier just discussed all the risks associated with DeFi and how we're different from that, and why I think, you know, we're uniquely positioned to kind of bridge the gap between DeFi and traditional finance. But we're waiting on the assurances that we get from institutional custody and insurance on the smart contracts, and a lot of that stuff to be tested and tried and true before we're willing to put our toe into the water and put risk clients' capital. Sona with $7. Thank you for the super chat. They say, Jake, how soon, in your opinion, can people with less than 100 XRP work with you guys? And will your lower risk options be ready for that? Yes, they will. They will be ready here in early Q4 based on the conversations that I'm having today. And as price appreciates for XRP, we will absolutely be able to work with people that have less than 100,000 XRP. If at a $10 XRP, you know, for $500,000, we will be, you know, it'd be just 50,000 XRP. And again, we've lowered that minimum a couple different times at this point. We've got the crazy names here on YouTube. Buttery Nipholes. God, can't believe I even said it. They say, Mom, wife, and I have accumulated about 72K in various alts, mostly XRP. We each have our own wallet. Can we put that into a Wyoming LLC? Wife and I each have LLC business accounts we buy with. So you can do a family limited partnership. It's much more complicated than just a single member LLC. We have an operating agreement for that. We can absolutely help you set it up if you want to work with Digital Wealth Partners to do that. Just be sure that that's what you want. If you want to commingle all of your family's assets and have everybody involved, they're going to be partners on that business. There's no tax implications. So that's the benefit of a family limited partnership. Is very similar to a single member LLC. You're not going to have the step up in basis or change in time frame held for whatever you purchase the assets at. Now, you might want that if you get to lock in capital losses. So if you bought XRP, call it 350, and then you're moving it into the LLC now, you could actually lock in some capital losses, which could be beneficial if you anticipate having some capital gains this year or next year. But yeah, happy to work with you on the family limited partnership. Just email us info@digitalfamilyoffice.io, and our team there can help you walk through that and figure out if it's the best option for you. We got Nathan. He says you froze, but I'm back up. We have, if you want the LLC, I'll mention this too, or the family limited partnership. I think we charge the same amount for both. It's just $2,000 if you use the code 50OFF, 50OFF DAG LLC. That's 50OFF DAG LLC. Gets you everything end to end for your LLC or your family limited partnership through the website there at digitalfamilyoffice.io. And you can also work with other attorneys. I'm not trying to obviously we provide this service. We've done over 4,000 LLCs for people at this point. We're by far the largest provider of this service globally. But if you want to work with a different attorney that may or may not know what they're doing, that's your prerogative. You can absolutely do that. I would just, if you are going to, make sure that you vet them very good. They understand digital assets. They're going to make sure that your operating agreement has all the provisions that are, needed in that operating agreement. This person's asked an interesting question over here. They say, is the government shutdown going to affect crypto negatively? Depends on your interest in crypto. I think it's going to position XRP as the only option when the reverse carry trade unwinds, because the Clarity Act will have not been passed yet. XRP is currently the only thing that has clear regulations here in the US or designation as not a security. When we talked with R3, that was one of the things that they mentioned, was that the only asset that they would use for settlement would have to have regulatory clarity here in the US. So until the Clarity Act is passed, XRP is uniquely positioned to be able to fill that role. And I think it will happen. And maybe that government shutdown just happens to be able to push the Clarity Act out long enough where XRP is the only opportunity or only option when they need it. Kevin says, hey, Jake, what are your thoughts on Swift preparing the Lena for cross-border payments? Does this affect your price prediction? What's your 5-year conservative prediction? Does not affect my price prediction at all. Again, it just makes me more bullish, to be honest with you, because that's the messaging component that needs to be EVM based in order to be able to work with XRP and settle via the EVM sidechain on the XRPL. The 5-year conservative price prediction for XRP. Well, that's 2030. At that point, 80 to 85% of all real world assets will be tokenized on chain. is my conservative estimate. It could be more. And if that's the case, you know, you're looking at easily a $50,000 to $100,000 XRP with derivatives. I know that sounds crazy. You can call me whatever you want. I've watched Bitcoin go from, you know, what it was 15 years ago to what it is today, and I think XRP will move at a much faster pace than that. We've got the SEC eliminating filing standards clears the way for BlackRock. Let me move this over here. BlackRock to file and be approved, skipping the line. They have fiduciary responsibility to file. Thoughts? Nah, they don't need to file. Like, as soon as their S1 meets the requirements, it will get listed. Like, that's the whole point of this, is to be able to act swiftly and have everything approved at one time when they let it go, because they're going to have to orchestrate a supply shock to get XRP to the level of prices that they're going to need in order for it to be able to start facilitating these transactions for these global markets and settlement. And again, they've got to orchestrate that. It can't just be like a slow bleed of them approving ETFs. We got Taco and Jeepo say, Jake, the crypto Drake. What do you think about swap functionality on Ledger Live? Instead of moving BTC to Coinbase and then converting there, it's using a third party for swap called CIC, secure method, or stay away. I don't do anything on Ledger anymore. I really don't care what capabilities they have at this point. It's not a cold wallet that I'm going to use. Again, personal preference, not saying anything bad about the company or the product. Just a personal preference that I'm not going to be using that or any of the services that are associated with that wallet. G-Unit. It's a really good name. They say, what's your take on Uphold's vault? Would it be impacted by the reverse carry trade? Is it bankruptcy remote? Are they your keys? It isn't clear on Uphold's FAQ. So, well, we'll just run this down for you guys. I was drinking whiskey with Simon when they were still pontificating on the rollout of Vault. For those that don't know, Simon, who I'm referring to, is CEO at Uphold. And he was explaining to me why they were going to roll that product out, which I thought was actually really a brilliant business move for them. They turned a cost center into a profit center, which is great. So it would not be affected by the reverse carry trade. It is a one-way street back to Uphold to trade your assets. They hold the third key to the wallet where they're able to regenerate your keys. They are your keys. I actually think it's great for, you know, estate planning and a unique product on the market to be able to mitigate risk of loss of your keys. You know, if something happens to you, Uphold's able to regenerate those keys. If you have your assets on Uphold's platform and you die, they do not have beneficiaries. They will liquidate those assets and then give your family the cash. So if you want to keep your assets and you do have less than enough to be able to work with us in institutional custody, I think Vault is a great solution for that. It is not bankruptcy remote because they are not holding your assets. They're in a cold storage wallet that's generated for you in your name. So it doesn't need to be bankruptcy remote. It's separate of Uphold itself. So if Uphold went bankrupt, your wallet would still be available there on the XRPL. Your assets would still be inside that. You would still own the keys to that wallet. Now, I don't know where you're going to be able to send that XRP if Uphold no longer exists. That's my only concern with that, is it's a one-way street in and out of their Vault product. So you can't send it to other cold wallets or other exchanges. Oh, geez. So, excuse me. Yeah, I think it's a very unique product, and it's a great option for people that do want to continue to trade on Uphold, but be able to hold their assets in their own custody with some level of protection. And the reason that they wouldn't have bankruptcy remote in their QFA or their FAQ is because it's not a question that you would ask for that product. We've got William. Thank you again for the super chat, my man. Let's see. We're going to go to the bottom, and then we will work our way back up. We've got an hour left here on the live. We've got NCST8 fan. Not sure what that's supposed to be, but I'm sure I butchered it. Do you think that the bulk ETF approvals and BlackRock entrance will wait until the Clarity Act is approved? No, I do not think that they will wait till the Clarity Act is approved. We've got Landon. He says, hey, Jake, not sure what happened, but my super chat, what do you think about RTX token? And also, what do you think about the CoinRabbit lending platform? Never heard of either one. I have no idea. But we can look it up real time right here on the channel. We got RTX token. Remitix token. Sounds like they're going after international settlement, so that's probably going to zero because it's not going to get adopted if that's their use case. And then CoinRabbit lending. Instant loan, borrow against your crypto. API integrations and referral program, crypto loans, crypto wallet exchanges. What do they use for their infrastructure for custody? I'm assuming it's just a Fireblocks infrastructure, and they do hard money loans against crypto. They do it in over 335 countries. They have apps for this. Their Trustpilot score is 4.5. Starts from $100, no credit check. That's the loan. They have an earn program. Currently paying 5% on USDT deposits. Mainly Tether on the returns here. They have wrapped Bitcoin, a whole bunch of Tether products on all chains, USDC, ETH. I mean, the interest rates don't seem outrageous on here, so that's good. The loan rates are non-disclosed. Let's see. It doesn't look like they loan against XRP. Well, let's see. Maybe they're in alphabetical order. Golly, they've got a ton of tokens on here that they'll loan against. So that's interesting. Let me take a look at this. It's not something that I've dealt with before, and I don't want to take all the time here on the live to go back and forth on it. I don't see XRP on the list of tokens. Oh, they do. It's down here at the bottom. I got XRP loan, Solana loan, Ethereum, Bitcoin. Yeah, I don't know what the rates are. My other concerns about this is I don't know where it's held. So anytime you're giving up your assets to somebody else and they're not staying in your name, we use tri-party agreements to be able to issue the loans, and those are going to become more and more prevalent inside of institutional custody. I don't feel comfortable giving my stuff over to somebody else and not know where it's held, and know that they're probably going to rehypothecate it also. So there's just a lot of stuff that I would want to reason through and understand before participating on that platform. All right, we're going up from the bottom. We've got Mr. Businessman. Interesting. He says the legendary Jake. Appreciate you, man. If you were me, not financial advice, and you had 2+ ETH and 0.3 BTC, would you swap it for all XRP based on the math despite the capital gains tax? So what's that current value? Let's call it $8,000 for ETH. I think it's down from $4,000, but it was pretty close to that not too long ago. and Bitcoin is $110,000. So you're looking at like 33 grand there. And you got 8 in ETH. So we're looking at about, call it 40 grand post trading fees invested in XRP. So that's going to pull you about 13,000 XRP at the current price. So let's just play it out. We're just going to play out the price appreciation on Bitcoin and ETH versus the XRP. So if you stay in Bitcoin and ETH, it's becoming very apparent that if we haven't topped in this cycle, we're pretty close for both of those assets. I think that you could see another 10 to 20% to the upside, and that's it. Not a whole lot left there. And that's not just me saying that. Well, let's play it out. Let's say it goes to 250 per Bitcoin. Okay. Super bullish scenario. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm highly confident that we've already topped, or 130, 135 is going to be the top for Bitcoin. But let's say it does. Let's say it goes to 250. That's like a little more than a 2x from here. You only need a $6 XRP for 2x. That's definitely going to happen when the ETFs go. I mean, look at what the ETFs did to Bitcoin from the bottom, and they pushed it up to an all-time high before the halving. So this many spot ETFs for XRP is absolutely going to push it past $6. Let's look at ETH. Even if we play out the scenario that Tom Lee thinks is going to happen at $16,000 per ETH this cycle, which I again do not think is going to happen at all. That's still 4x there. So you've got 2x on 30 grand. So that puts you at 60, and a 4x on your 8 grand, which is another 24. So that's going to give you a total of, like, let's call it $84,000 if you cash out at the top of the mystical cycle of the gods that isn't going to happen. Now, if you rolled all that to XRP, and I think it's very likely, like, worst case scenario, we get to 10 or 13 bucks this cycle. Okay. That's not even me. That's the TA guys that are super conservative calling for that. So that's going to be a 3x from here. So 3x your money from today. You actually end up beating the returns on Bitcoin and ETH with the absolute worst case scenario for XRP. So if you are here for gains, if you're here for ROI, I think that it absolutely makes sense. But to your point, you do have to think about the taxes associated with that exchange. So, that's up to you. I don't know what you bought them at. I don't know how long you've held them. I don't know. There's a lot of other things there that are misnomers or things that I'm unaware of. So that's for you to know and figure out on your own. But that's kind of the scenarios that I think is going to play out. Again, I'm highly, highly, highly confident that XRP will be somewhere between 50 and 100 bucks on the other side of the ETFs going. We've got, oh no, I already did that one. We're going back the other direction. We've got Daniel. He says, hello, Jake. Thank you for all that you do. Question, I am going through a divorce. I'm sorry to hear that, man. That's not a fun time. Hopefully you're happier. Hopefully, I won't even get into that. He says, I have bought with my own money, all my XRP. Can I put it into an LLC, or what would be best? You're in the middle of a divorce. You don't want to do anything that makes it look like you're trying to hide assets or evade things. If you're going through that, trust is not an option. Just cast that out. You can set up a corporation. Yeah. I mean, it's not going to hurt you to set up a corporation. I don't want there to be something in court that they're like, you're trying to hide assets. You moved them into this corporation out of your name, and they're still subject to this divorce and all the stuff that comes along with that. So go ask your divorce attorney is probably who I would have a conversation with. And I would just say, hey, look, I'm trying to look out for myself. I want to be able to make sure I'm doing this the right way. Based on everything I read, this is a suggested move. Is that going to cause a problem with the divorce? Is it going to make me look like I'm doing anything? Do we need to disclose it? Like, what's the best path forward here to make sure that I'm able to protect myself, my assets, and, you know, also not do anything that looks sketchy to the judge or, you know, to my ex-wife. Or, and again, not saying to not pay her or participate in the divorce or try to hide assets or any of that stuff. I'm actually saying, like, do the right thing, and disclose everything that you have going on, and just don't look shady in that situation. But I would consult your attorney. Howdy, Christina. She says, good idea to, instead of paying off credit cards to zero balance, I pay the minimum instead and buy $8,000 worth of XRP and cash out what I put in a couple months. Ooh, you're playing a rough game there, Christina. Can't give you financial advice, and advising you to take leverage would be irresponsible. However, if you do the math and you think it makes sense, I don't know the time frame for this stuff. I just know what events are supposed to take place. And again, everything's predicated on events. So if you are bullish that these events that I'm talking about will play out in that time period, and you think that, you know, taking leverage or taking debt on to finance the purchase of these assets that will appreciate potentially in that time frame could be a good choice and use of your resources, that is up to you. I can tell you, in the past, I have financed purchases of XRP with debt. It's worked out for me a couple times. I probably got lucky. So again, not advocating for you to do that or telling you to do it. I'm just giving you my honest, unbiased opinion and walking through the scenario, and then you can make your choices accordingly. And if you want financial advice, you can always work with Digital Wealth Partners. You can go to digitalwealthpartners.net and book a time. Even if you don't have the minimum to custody with us, if you want to talk to a financial advisor and know what to do, create an exit plan, understand what you have, how to hold it, how to mitigate risk, and structure your portfolio, our team there can help you at that. They will give you financial advice and are licensed to do so on your digital assets. That's digitalwealthpartners.net. Just go to the contact us form and fill it out. Mark M, he says, Jake, is it true Coinbase is almost out of XRP? Yes. If so, how long do you think it will be before that supply and demand kicks price in? Thank you for everything. Love the mastermind. Awesome, dude. Glad to have you there in the group. Again, thank you for the kind words, and really excited to have all of the wonderful people that we do there. Almost 8,000 people in the mastermind. I think it's all part of it. I think that the other exchanges will follow suit behind Coinbase. Coinbase tends to be the leader on most everything. And if they are getting low on XRP, I think that the other ones aren't too far behind them. And as everything plays out and all of them coordinate across them to lower the supply, I think that we will see that big move in price because of the supply shock. This person, again, I have been XRP owner for 9 months. I built a bag of 5 digits, but I'm getting impatient. How do you maintain the XRP faith? A lot of us have been here for 5-6 years, my man. It's like a muscle. The more you use it, the better you get at it. I have seen and heard too much and had too many conversations with the right people to know that this is going to happen. And so for me, it's pretty easy. Like, I don't even think about it anymore. It's a foregone conclusion in my mind. I'm already thinking about the next 5 years and have been. How is this money going to be used? What are we building with it? You know, like, making the money is the foregone conclusion. And again, it's not a matter of if, but when. and then having a plan on the other side of that to be able to, maximize your purpose, what you were put here to do. So I would focus on that. I wouldn't worry about, XRP moving, and if you're able to figure all the other stuff out by the time it moves, you'll know what to do and have everything in place. Jayhawk Nation. God. Oh, this person says not Brad, but Rock Chalk. Awesome. He said, thanks for the Q&As and all the knowledge you provide to help people understand the life-changing opportunity we love called XRP. Are you sure you're not Brad? Rock Chalk Jayhawk. It'd be cool if it was Brad. We got, hey, Irvin, how are you, sir? We had a call just the other day. Great to see you on here. He says, thank you for our private conversation yesterday. You gave me peace of mind and clarity, all the crypto financial fog. The Carbon 2 membership is definitely worth it. Happy to know you, brother. Appreciate that, man. Thank you. And thank you for the super chat. So this isn't public knowledge, but I will mention it one time here. If you are in Carbon 2, it is much easier to find a time with me if you do want to chat. So it's $250 a month for the Carbon 2 membership. But I do provide a way to get in touch with me on a fairly regular cadence, if you would like to do so, to discuss, intimate details and go over stuff and make sure that you are prepared for things coming. And we actually just did move my consult fee because it's been overbooked to $10,000 for an hour on the website there, which again blows my mind. I feel bad if I can't provide at least that amount of value in the time frame that we have. So I will say this: if you have less than at least 500,000 XRP, please don't waste the $10,000 on a call with me. I'm not going to be able to give you that much money back with my time. And I hate that. I really want, if somebody's willing to pay that much money, I always want to provide like 10 times the amount of value that I'm charging. So if you have at least 500,000 XRP, that's probably worth having a conversation over, and I can probably provide you enough value in that call that it's worth it. But if you have less than that, I don't know that I can. So please don't put me in that position. Our team will take a call for $300. We're booked out for almost a month at this point. On both sides, both on a DWP and a digital family office. And they know more or as much as I do on basically everything. So they are fantastic. And I would encourage people to book a time with them and not with me. Shelly Pesta says, hey, Jake, I'm so grateful to learn so much from you. Thank you. I finished my LLC in April. Awesome. Will you be raising your minimum thresholds to work with your wealth management team? If so, when? We will be raising thresholds on the other side of price appreciation, on the other side of a $10 XRP. Outside of the mastermind, everything will be going up for people. If you are a member of the mastermind, we will always take care of people that are there. So again, if you want to become part of the mastermind so that you can lock in and maintain a lot of those benefits and access to stuff, all you got to do is use the code BEYONDBROKE, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO, get you your first month for $2 there in Carbon 1 or Social. Joey with the super chat, appreciate you, brother. He says, is the Ledger Flex a safe cold wallet? I don't use Ledger. I'm not going to say anything else about it. It's just not something I use. Fivefold Nutrition. I like the name. Sound like a bodybuilder or somebody that's into nutrition. It's kind of like 5%, like Rich Piana. He says, is XRP stock using 401k a good avenue to have exposure to XRP? Yes, it is. Leveraged ETFs like that on futures are meant to be traded. So, you're not going to get any additional upside on the leveraged XRP ETF if you're not in it at the right time and exiting at the right time. Inside of a 401k is a great way to participate in that. It's going to be a tax deferred account. So you're not going to pay tax until much later on those returns inside that account. Same thing with IRAs. Matt 638. What's up, Jake? Always look forward to your content. Appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. He says, seems like a hot topic amongst influencers the past few days has been XRP disappearing off of exchanges. Everything you've been mentioning, I've been talking about it for a while. 50 to 100 bucks ain't so crazy anymore. You're the man. Appreciate that. Thank you for the super chat and the kind words, Matt. People still doubt what I'm saying all the time. They doubt the domino theory. They're telling, well, what if this doesn't happen or what if that doesn't happen? Look, I would not continue to come on here and talk about it week after week, month after month, year after year at this point, if it wasn't a for sure thing. Okay? Like, there's a reason that my thesis hasn't changed in 18 months about what's going to happen. So take from that what you will, but I have not lost any conviction about what's going to play out, and it's just been more and more vindicated, and all of the things that I've talked about over the past year and a half have slowly been coming to fruition. So hopefully that's enough credibility for you to believe that the rest of it will, and position yourself accordingly. And that's probably a good segue for me to remind you that this is not financial advice. Nothing said here is for financial investment advice or financial advice. It's only for entertainment and educational purposes only. You should always consult with your financial advisor, your CPA, or your attorney before making any financial, tax, or legal decisions. Anything stated here are my opinions. They are not the firm's opinions at Digital Ascension Group or Digital Wealth Partners. If you need financial advice, or you want attorneys, or you want CPAs to consult with, we have all of those partners at Digital Ascension Group. All you got to do is reach out to us at info@digitalfamilyoffice.io. Oh man, my attorneys love when I do my job the right way. Travis XRP says, I'm afraid that this is highly unlikely, but hypothetically speaking, if everyone hoarded or held their XRP and no one sold, would it drive liquidity and cause XRP to not operate as its intended use? No, it would not affect it at all. Retail does not hold anywhere near enough the supply to affect it in any capacity. We have been the liquidity that's allowed them to test and trial this market and the asset on the mainnet to be able to, implement it at scale with financial institutions. People are going to sell when they see most people, when they see an $8 XRP, when they see a $10 XRP, when they see a $25 XRP, when they see a $50 XRP, they're selling. They're out of here. You're going to see, people left and right that said that they were going to hold, liquidate their bag. And look, more power to you. You should do what's right for you and your family. You should have some type of exit plan. If your exit plan is to hold and earn yield and borrow against your XRP, that's still an exit plan. We have all of those options available for people today at Digital Wealth Partners. We can provide you liquidity against your XRP. We can generate returns and cash flow with your XRP. We can compound your XRP. And we will continue to build out products and provide solutions over the rest of the year to be able to, diversify those returns across low, medium, and high risk yield. So really excited about that. But, again, you never go broke taking profits. Just be aware of the tax implications associated with those. But to this person's question, no, retail, it's very apparent at this point that we do not drive the value of XRP. If we did, we would have been able to push it up past 50 cents over the past, 5 years while it was in the lawsuit. There were still plenty of us buying, I can tell you. So, no, it's institutions that control this market, and they will be the ones that orchestrate a liquidity crisis. This lady has asked about trust. We do provide trust. We work with multiple attorneys to be able to establish those there in Wyoming, and international trust in other jurisdictions. We can also do PPLI. We have an insurance company to be able to provide life insurance. There's anything, everything that you would want for financial products and advisory and services. We already have in place at Digital Ascension Group. We are a multifamily office. We provide every private client service that you could think of. This person's name is I Told You So. I love it. Sounds like James Rule. He says, Jake, thanks for what you do. What are we looking at after Japan raises its interest rates next month? And what's your view on the LPAL Titan 2? Scared of having all my assets on one cold storage. Diversify, man. LPAL's good. It is air gapped, which is interesting. There's some other cold wallets that are also air gapped, like LPAL. I think they're fine. It's, the UI on Decent is what I prefer, and the biometric. Oh, geez. Man, was up at 5 a.m. this morning. It's getting late for me. I do think that Japan will raise their interest rates in October. I do think that the reverse carry trade will begin to unwind. I think that all of this has been timed for Q4 this year for a very important reason. Gavin says, what's your current thoughts on Flare? Is it a good investment for long-term price at current price? Sure. I sold all my Flare at 29 cents. So I'll probably buy Flare back when it gets back up to 29 cents. I'm XRP'd, says, hi, Jake, the man with the plan. Do you have any DAG, DFO, or Mastermind merch available? My man. we don't sell it. Here, so I know people would probably buy that. There's a certain level of brand recognition and also opportunity cost on stuff. So could I roll out merch and like people be excited about it and want to buy it and pay for it? Sure. I got to stock everything then. I got to deal with ordering product. I've got to spend time and energy and resources on that for not a whole lot of return. By the time we bought stuff in volume to be able to make any type of money on it, it isn't worth it. So, not to poo-poo that idea, because I have had it. I've just had it enough times and thought through it enough times that we just decided not to. This shirt was made by a Mastermind member. Occasionally, we have Mastermind members that decide on their own accord to make stuff. And this person in particular, I would allow them to just make merch for us. And if he wanted to split the profits and handle everything, I would let him do it. He's provided us a huge amount of value with resources, other partnerships that we now have. He sent us tons of merch for free. Never asked him for any of it. I've offered to pay him for it. He tells me no. So, there's a possibility of that in the future, but it won't be anything that I have to pay attention to or work on or deal with. And again, there's just a certain level of brand. The type of brand that we have is not really like a merch deal. Is that and it's kind of Zach's game. Like I just let Zach play the merch game. That's not really my game. So I stay in my lane. We provide financial services and private client services, and we build out products. And I'm focused on real ROI for our clients, and that's where I spend my time and energy. And merch is just the cost of benefit isn't there for me personally. Johnny, he says, just want to say thank you for being a constant, honest consistent, honest, and informative. Thank you for that, Johnny. I appreciate that. I try to be. It's tough repeating the same info. When I get impatient or bummed, I just turn on your videos for encouragement. I appreciate that, man. I'm hopeful that if I can make a difference for one person, they hang on and it changes their life for forever and their family's life for forever. That's what I was put here to do. That is my purpose. I am supposed to be the conduit. I'm supposed to lift others up. I'm supposed to help other people achieve their goals and dreams and their highest purpose. And getting on here and, being consistent, I get a lot of fulfillment from this and a lot of enjoyment. So it's easy for me to do. It never feels like work. And if it makes a difference in people's lives, even if it comes with all the other things that it comes with, it is well worth it to me. C. Johnson. He says, can you move a traditional IRA to a self-directed IRA with DWP, purchase XRP, and could it stay within the end of your LLC? It's never going to be associated with your LLC. You can set up an IRA, LLC, or trust separate, but not going to be associated with your LLC that owns digital assets separately. And we can absolutely move a self-directed IRA over to our custody in cash and then buy XRP in that account. SEP IRA, traditional IRA, Roth IRA, backdoor IRA, whatever you want, we can do it over there at Anchorage and Digital Wealth Partners. Speaking of that, it's getting down to the end of the year here, and I hope you guys are making good choices to be able to mitigate taxes and having those conversations with your CPAs. We've got Eric Hoover. He says, hey, Jake, I formed an LLC with Digital Family Office, but mistakenly formed it as a multi-member instead of a single member. Please advise. Just email us, my man. We can fix it. It's not a big deal. Info. Well, actually, you already got an LLC, so I would say support. Email support@digitalfamilyoffice.io. Just send them that. Send them the same thing you just asked me, and they'll go back and revise that for you and get it fixed. And appreciate you, thinking through that and making sure you're doing things the right way. APROD says, thought on the massive integration Stellar has or was able to achieve with blue chips such as PayPal, Visa, MasterCard, DTCC, MoneyGram, and Telegram. Super bullish on Hyperledger and Stellar and XLM. I do think that one day XLM could be worth, close to $1,000, $999 and $999. Actually, 9,999 cents. 999.9999 is what I think the maximum value for Stellar will be. And that's a long way from where she sits today. At what is the price of the XLM this evening? She's at 37 cents. So again, to go to $1,000, be doing all right. We've got Michael Mitchell. He says, Jake, knowing I should set up an LLC, what's from Florida and Wyoming? I'm not sure which question is there, Michael. We set things up in Wyoming. 1 for attorney-client privilege, 2 for the creditor protection you get there. You also get the benefits of the regulatory environment there in Wyoming versus any other state. It's the most progressive regulation for digital assets. The creditor protection is charging order protection, very similar to Nevada. It also has 0 state tax there in Wyoming, and it's one of the lowest states as far as cost to be able to maintain your entity versus other states for the state filing fee and registered agents and other stuff. So that's the reason we choose Wyoming over every other state. Florida's going to share your information with everybody publicly. You're not going to get any anonymity or attorney-client privilege there in Florida. You do have no state tax, which is great. They are a little bit more progressive when it comes to crypto, but not anywhere near as progressive as Wyoming. And the charging order protection or creditor protection you get in Florida is not as good as Wyoming. We've got John Bow. He says, thanks for all that you do. So explain it to me like I'm 5th grade. One of the possible catalysts you mentioned is the collapse of U.S. Treasuries. Not true, but we'll talk about that. What good is $100 or 100K XRP if Treasuries have collapsed? I've never said that Treasuries are going to collapse. I said that there could be volatility in Treasuries and that they would shore them up through the stablecoin regulation. And now that that's already been passed and they're not going to have to ram it through, Treasuries are going to be just fine. The bond market's going to be just fine. The U.S. dollar is going to be fine. They've already shored that up. And that's the reason they didn't allow the reverse carry trade to unwind in 2024, because they didn't have that in place. And if had they in 2024, it would have screwed Treasuries. We would have had a big problem with all of those Treasuries flooding back here to the U.S. But now that we've passed the Genius Act and we have stablecoin regulation, all the investment banks will soak up those Treasuries as they flow onto the market to be able to back their stable coins that they are going to be issuing, shoring everything up and making sure that our bond market is stable and U.S. Treasuries remain a tier 1 asset. Indoprime says, opinion on Engrave wallet for XRP until price appreciation. That's another one of those air-gapped wallets, and I think that's fine. We recommend decent. Again, there's a lot of good cold wallets out there. Amber, hey ma'am, she says, what did you predict XRP would be worth middle of next year? Middle of next year, still 4 digits, somewhere around there. That's my prediction. I'm just one guy. Again, take that with a grain of salt. I have my opinions and I've talked to a lot of people, and that gives me the biases and ability to say that with a straight face. Many people are going to have a hard time with that level of price prediction. Get a couple more super chats here. We got this one says, Jake, you're a legend. Thank you, man. I watch your shorts all the time. Question, what companies will offer collateralized loans for a minimum of 100K or less? We work with Arch Lending to do that. We're their exclusive partner on XRP. If you want access to that through the Mastermind, you can get it today, my man, especially if you have a Wyoming LLC set up to be able to manage your digital assets. They will do it for as little as $5,000 worth of XRP. They'll issue you a loan, a collateralized loan up to 45%, 13.5% interest. So it's a little higher on the interest rate, but I mean, you do have access to liquidity. So if that's something that interests you, all you got to do is join the Mastermind and the Carbon One. Carbon One gets you access to the ability to borrow against your assets. And again, you can use the code BEYONDBROKE, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO like Mary Oscar gets you the first month in Carbon One for $2. So for $2, you can get a loan against your XRP if that's something you want to do. And again, you probably want to go ahead and set up your LLC so that, Wyoming allows you to do that. They don't need a money transmitter license. If you're here in Texas, you need the Wyoming LLC. X-Profit says, I hold most of my XRP in a traditional crypto IRA. When XRP flies and I make millions, do you think I should withdraw before the age of 59 and a half? I would do it long time before XRP appreciates. If you are going to withdraw it before the age of 59 and a half, you want to owe less taxes and penalties, not more. So if you anticipate having to take it out of there before retirement, I would do it sooner than price appreciation, personally. And I can say that because I have done it. Dr. Denise, good to see you, ma'am. She says, 1111, thank you for the super chat. With the yield on the IRA, non-IRA yield products coming soon that will be paid out monthly to time the AUM fees in real time, or will 3 to 4 month lag be needed? 10/10 deadline soon. Dallas rocked. Carbon 2, let's go. Awesome, ma'am. So actually, the compounding will be daily. It's an algorithmic trading strategy that we're going to run on the accounts. So it'll compound XRP on whatever cadence, and we've got multiple algorithms that we're going to layer on top of one another that will aggregate and compound XRP or whatever other asset you want. Whew. Bad tonight. I'm yawning. And again, that'll be available in November for people that are DWP clients. So if you want to work with us and get access to the ability to earn additional returns inside of your IRA and cover all the fees associated with that. And again, you know, I never like having a product where we're not generating value. The IRAs that get moved over us, we charge an AUM fee on, and we really don't have a product to be able to generate additional returns on those. So that's why we're rolling this out. You know, it's something I've wanted for a long time, and I'm really excited we're going to have it. And I think people are going to love it. You know, the returns on this are around 20% a year is what we're targeting. And if you're able to generate 20% a year inside of your IRA, compounding the asset, that's pretty nice. We're going to take a couple more super chats, then we're going to wrap it up tonight. We got Haley. Hey, ma'am. She says, hey, Jake, do you trust in iTrust Capital? Once XRP, can you transfer to an LLC or trust without large taxes owed? No. Well, do I trust them? They're fine. iTrust Capital uses Fireblocks for their infrastructure. I don't think they're bankruptcy remote. I don't know. I'd have to look at that. I don't know that they provide you insurance on your assets either. Maybe they do. I'm not sure. I know that they don't like to remove assets and move them over to our platform. I can tell you that. They've been more amicable recently, but for a long time they were not wanting to work with us. So if you wanted to take stuff out again, I would just talk about this because a lot of people are asking these questions. Let's say you are 50 years old and you have a good chunk of your XRP or other digital assets outside of your IRAs. Probably just leave them in there. I mean, you got another 10 years, just let them ride and grow. You've got enough access to capital outside of that that's going to grow, that you're going to be able to, you know, use and generate income and do other stuff with. Now, let's say you're like a couple that I met not too long ago. They were in their early 40s. The wife was in her late 30s. The gentleman was in the early 40s, his early 40s. And they had very little XRP outside of their IRA. And they had the majority of what they owned inside of their IRA. IRAs make it very cumbersome for you to be able to access and use the assets or do much with them until you are 59 and a half. And even when you're 59 and a half, you can't leverage it, can't borrow against it. So it really just limits your ability to access that collateral and do what you need to with it. So it would behoove you in most circumstances like that to potentially liquidate the IRA early, take the taxes and penalties, especially if you thought it was going to appreciate substantially, and then have full access to that capital. And you can take it out in kind. Now, I'm not recommending you do this. I'm not your financial advisor. I don't know your full financial position. I'm just giving you some other things to think about if you might be, you know, able to relate to some of those circumstances I mentioned. So, you know, you do you, think through that situation, but you wouldn't be able to move those assets. If you are going to take them out, it's much, much better to take them out now and pay lower taxes and fees than you would after they've appreciated. We got this person, GDE says they are a new follower. Here, man, love your content. If you have 85K XRP, would you set up an LLC in Wyoming? Yes, I absolutely would. That's plenty to do it. And you definitely want the creditor protection at that point. I mean, that's a couple $100,000. I have ACONs in November. Oh, consult with in November with your team. Will XRP moon by then? Potentially. I mean, we got ETFs that I think are going to roll here in October. I would get the LLC set up sooner than later if you already had that much. Again, you do you. You asked my opinion. That's what I'm giving you. And that's all it is my opinion. GVT says, thank you for what you do, sir. We all appreciate you. Appreciate you, man. Thank you for coming on here and for the super chat and taking time out of your evening to listen to me ramble on about stuff. And for all the other wonderful people asking good questions here. We got two more here, and then we're going to wrap it up tonight. We got the baseball babe. Nice. She says, the mastermind has been awesome. I'm so behind in finishing my homework for my LLC. Advice, support number. Laughlin will definitely, load you up with stuff to do for the LLC, but if you do it, you're going to maintain that corporate veil and you're going to get all the benefits of the creditor protection and everything that you're looking to get out of the LLC. So I know it can be cumbersome and consuming at first, but once it's done, and you have a nice smooth cadence on when you review things and do meeting minutes and all the stuff, and you'll be good to go. So thank you so much for working with us on that. Excited to have you in the group, and thank you for the kind words. We got Cody. He says, Jake, did you already address the new announcement for the Swift blockchain? Yes, I did. If you would like to listen to that, you can absolutely go back to the beginning of this. It is recorded. We got Daniel. He says, my fiance and I have been accumulating XRP for over 6 years. Dude, you and your fiance are doing, y'all been engaged that long for 6 years? No, I'm just giving you a hard time. He says, are we at the breaking point? Also, we have over 25K XRP to qualify for Digital Ascension Group services. Not quite, unfortunately. Our minimum is $100,000 on the wealth management side. But you did say Digital Ascension Group. So Digital Family Office, we can absolutely set up the LLC for you guys. That's not a problem for that amount. You're absolutely in the range where that starts to make sense, somewhere between $50,000 and $80,000 in portfolio value. And if you do want to work with us on the LLC formation, we would love to help you out with that. Just go to digitalfamilyoffice.io and use the code 50OFF50 OFF DAG LLC. That's 50OFF50 OFF DAG LLC. Get you everything end to end for your digital asset holding company. It's a holding company that manages alternative investments with a specific allocation to crypto. And that's how we structure it in order for you to be able to also get long-term capital gains and those benefits on your investment when you do decide to take profit. If you set up a trading company, not going to get any of that. And if you work with most other people that are establishing entities, they're not going to know to do this. They're just going to set you up a trading company, which is going to cause you some problems. So, yeah, would love to work with you in that capacity. And then as the assets appreciate, we would definitely love to work with you on the wealth management side as well. And congratulations on the, getting married thing. It's a big undertaking, and I wish you guys the best in that endeavor. We got Keegan. He says, rub the crystal ball for me and let it, and let's hit 10K. I will do the magic on it. Did we do it? Are we at 10K? Dang. It's broken. That's another thing that this wonderful gentleman that made the shirts also got me, was this crystal ball. Like, people send me such cool stuff, and I really do appreciate it. I do not feel worthy a lot of the time. I feel very humbled that people take time out to get gifts and send them my way. So thank you to all the people that do that. It is really appreciated. And all the people that get on here and send the super chats and take the time out of their evening. Like, again, I never thought I'd be in a spot where this many people cared what I thought. So thank you guys. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it at this point. If I missed your super chat by some chance, I apologize. I would love to get to it. All you got to do is DM me in the mastermind. I will get to it. I will never message you, but you can message me and I will respond to it. So if you would like to join the mastermind, we would love to have you in there. All you got to do is go to beyondbroke.com and use the code beyondbroke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO gets you the first month for $2 in social or carbon 1. If you do need the LLC, I mean, we just ran through that, but again, It's Digital Family Office, and use the code 50OFF, 50OFF, DAGLLC. Get you everything end to end for your digital asset LLC. And if you are someone that holds more than 300,000 XRP or at least $900,000 in digital assets, we're running a special right now at Digital Wealth Partners. We have dropped the AUM fees down to 75 basis points if you are over those amounts. And we will honor that for the next week and a half or so till 10/10. We can get you in, that rhymed, and get you that benefit on the lowered AUM fees, and would love to work with you. If you don't have that much, that's okay. We can absolutely still work with you if you have at least 100,000 XRP or at least $500,000 in total portfolio value. So with that, hope you guys have a wonderful night. Thank you for taking time out of your Monday to hang out with me. We'll be back Wednesday night with another one of these. And until then, God bless, and we'll see you guys on the next one.